Thank you for attending today's webinar on the adaptation to climate change and challenges in wetland cities. Before we begin, I will give you some technical guidance about our AI-based simultaneous interpretation services. You may find the link or the QR code in the chat box so that interpretation services are available in English, Chinese, French, Korean, Hungarian, Japanese, German, Persian, and Spanish if you use the QR code or the link in the chat box. You may be able to connect to the interpretation. Also, when you have questions during the presentations, please leave your question in the Q&A box on the bottom. The presenters will respond during the Q&A session in the end. For general questions, our colleagues will reply. So we may now begin our webinar today. As an annual activity of the chair of the Wetland City Network, this year's webinar is organized by Tata City, Hungary, in collaboration with the Ramsar Regional Center East Asia, serving as the Wetland City Network Secretariat. In celebration of the World Environment Day, it will focus on the role of urban and peri-urban wetlands to adapt to the challenges of climate change. For the opening message, we will invite Mayor Josep Miho, Mayor of Tata City. Please welcome Mayor Miho.
Nagyon nagy szeretettel köszöntök mindenkit, tisztelt konferencia, tisztelettel köszöntök mindenkit.
I would like to welcome you all.
Sunak, a Ramsári Regionális Központ kelet-ázsiai ügyvezetőjének.
Dear Sunak, the Managing Director, Director of East Asia, and the staff of the regional headquarters in Rangsar, the webinar is organized by cooperation. I greet the mayors of Mendra City, representatives of settlements are all dear participants. The featured is today's speaker of the webinar. Thank you for that. We can meet on the topic that most influences our lives today. They talk about good practices implemented or planned in wetland cities, and about our adaptation to climate change. Now we meet online. Thank you for allowing everyone to follow the presentations in their own language. It was a great pleasure, and we could learn a lot at the roundtable meeting of the mayors of the annual Wetland of Tata. I hope those who were here will continue to remember the plenary blow, the section discussions, the roundtable, but surely the meeting from the war and in Tata left a big mark on all of us. We must continue to work on shaping the wetlands of our cities. We are preparing a new project in Tata. We have submitted an application to the Hungarian government to support this. 1. We want to carry out the rehabilitation of 30 hectares of land. Here 7 for a long time. Use a little lake. The lakes have not been used by its tenant for a year, so we initiated the state to hand over this area to the city. Codes are a big problem in the area of the city. Here we would provide a separate area for the free life of the code. The goal is to renew the green-blue infrastructure. We want to retain the water of the springs and streams operating in the city in as much quantity as possible in order to help improve the climate situation and the reflux of the groundwater system underneath. We believe that we need to help with as many local water retention programs as possible so that Europe's largest river, the Danube, water should not flow out of Hungary as much as it enters our country. This project is also a good opportunity for young people to further expand into the rescue of wetlands with the involvement of children, so we launch programs and organize their participation on platforms available to them in a playful way. Twitter's conference. We are really looking forward to the Japanese match in the autumn. Until then, we work a lot on our tasks at home, and I guess that's what every Frankshaw does. Once again, thank you all for your cooperation. I wish a very useful and inspiring day to all participants. Dear friends, it is entrusted to the created world.
Thank you, Mayor, for introducing the green-blue infrastructure project of Tata City. Before moving to the presentation of Wetland cities, we would like to invite Professor Diana Uge-Bozat for her presentation on fighting climate change, the important role of wetlands in Hungary. As a professor in the Department of Environmental Sciences and Policy at the Central European University, she also served as the vice chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. We apologize that she could not present in person today, that we will listen to her presentation through a video.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the prestigious invitation to be able to address this important conference, even though I do regret that I won't be able to be there physically with you. At the same time, I do consider Ramsar agreement as well as cities with wetlands and cities fighting for maintaining biodiversity as well as climate regulation extremely important. So I'm very happy to be able to address you at this important event. So let me share just a couple of slides with you as welcoming points for your event. So wetlands are critically important in fighting climate change. For Hungary, this is especially true. And let me just give you a couple of facts in this context. So first of all, wetlands are critically important in general because they provide essential functions. They are habitat for both aquatic and terrestrial species. They are breeding and nursery grounds for fish. They are critical stopover for and feeding sites for migratory birds. And we know that, especially with Tata, this is really a very important ecosystem from that perspective. But in addition, among many, many other benefits, they reduce nitrogen loads to the environment as well as seas, not to a little extent, but really to a major extent. They keep groundwater levels high, and this way they can help preventing droughts, which are particularly important in the present Hungarian context. But they also provide very important cooling services in hot weather, which we are just through a major heat wave in Europe, which was actually not even in the summer months yet. So we know more is going to come and worse is going to come. And keeping temperatures cooler is critically important. But in addition to all of these, they also substantially improve physical and mental health for urban residents. And I will give a couple of facts about that as well. So wetlands, even though wetlands cover only maybe up to 8% of global land surface, they support to 20 to 40% of global species that depend on them. Again, they provide habitat, breeding, and migration sites, but they also have high diversity of plants, birds, fish, and invertebrates if they are left alone and left to nurture biological diversity. So that means that if we have loss of wetlands, we have a major decline in biological diversity. And unfortunately, we do see this happening already in Hungary. We don't exactly know the precise reasons, but we do see that we have been having major issues with not only wetlands, but lakes and ponds. So in general, all wet ecosystems in Hungary, and this is a major concern. So, of course, not all the reasons are climate change, but climate change is part of the reason. And here, what you see top are the climate stripes, and under that, the biodiversity stripes. I will explain the climate stripes, not the biodiversity stripes. But what this figure illustrates is that together with worsening climate, so heating climate together with climate change, also biodiversity is changing. Of course, the changing biodiversity in both of them have further reasons as well. But climate risks to biodiversity escalates rapidly with every additional fraction of degree of warming, not only degree, but fraction of a degree. And you see this is quite alarming figure, even if you don't read the details, and the point is not that. But look at the scale. We are talking about even in this in the second part of yellow, already 25 to 50% of species of biodiversity lost. And the dark red is percentage, over 75% of biodiversity loss. And even already at 2 to 3 degrees, we are seeing in Central Europe already major losses potentially to biodiversity. At 4 degrees, most of the Carpathian Basin is in the orange or dark red. So we definitely don't want to get there from the perspective of biological diversity. And in terms of how much the climate has changed, it has already warmed 1.3 degrees, 1.4 degrees compared to pre-industrial average. This figure, the climate stripes that everybody can do for your country or sometimes even for your city, that this compares unfortunately not to pre-industrial average, but 1960 to 2010. So perhaps to the average climate of our more older people in the audience. But look at, so just memorize the scale, because this is under 1 degree, because of course here we are going above 1 degree, but when this is the global temperature change. But when we get to Hungary, the scale is very different. And already we well exceeded even this double scale already in the last couple of years. And yes, unfortunately, the European Union's Climate Change Service has proven that not only Europe is warming more than twice as fast as the global average, but in fact, Central Europe is even worse than that. So yes, so temperature increase per decade over the last 30 years is what you see on the figure on your right. And you see that Europe is warming twice as fast as the global average. Half a degree per decade is a very scary rate of warming. And among that, if you see that Eastern Europe has been warming even faster than Western Europe. In fact, this is quite worrying, because you mainly see the dark colors, dark red here. This is that color means between half and 3/4 of a degree centigrade per decade in terms of warming. That's very alarming rate. That's nothing as compared to what our nature has experienced earlier. Now, and within that context, blue-green infrastructure, meaning parks, urban greenery and urban lakes, urban wetlands, urban water infrastructure, not meaning pipelines, but free water streams and so on, deliver multiple benefits. They reduce urban flood risk, they mitigate urban heat, as I mentioned already, they improve water quality, they enhance biodiversity, they support health and well-being. Again, I will elaborate on that. And together with that, they do strengthen social cohesion. Now, finally, they have really important climate regulatory impact, because blue carbon, as well as wetland ecosystems globally, already store more than 30 billion tons of carbon, meaning 30 gigatons of carbon, which is very substantial. And every year they sequester more. Only, of course, if they remain fairly undisturbed, because they are storing this in the soil under that, in the sediment layer. So it's critical that we let wetlands alone and don't disturb very much their sediment layers. So, as I mentioned, wetlands deliver multiple, and blue-green infrastructure, especially blue infrastructure, deliver multiple co-benefits. So this, I won't go through all of this, but it's very extremely comprehensive and very persuasive that not only, so if we do pay attention to our blue-green infrastructure, they reduce runoff in cities. They increase infiltration and storage capacity. They provide shading, that's the more the green infrastructure. But they, through evapotranspiration, they reduce urban heat islands and improve air quality. They regenerate habitats. They uptake carbon and also improve sedimentation. They have restorative and health enabling properties. And you see that exactly water quality, urban heat island reduction, air quality improvements, improve physical health, mental health, enhance biodiversity, cultural connections, sense of place, practice of cultural values. These are all really important aspects of urban wetlands. And I think Tata, among these, is very unique, and uniquely taking advantage of all of these, or demonstrating these in one place. Because, for example, the festival that is now has become an annual, really important event in the country, which is centering around the major migration of wild geese. That's already shows exactly, demonstrate very well all these multiplicative effects in other areas. So, oops, I'm very sorry that somehow this gets mixed up. But anyway, so let me explain what is in this slide. This is from the IPCC's 6th assessment report. And what this demonstrates, and I will tell you exactly what the point is. But this describes different types of blue-green infrastructure in cities and how they improve mitigation, climate change mitigation in this column, what kind of adaptation co-benefits they have, and also linkages to sustainable development goals. And within that, in the next slide, I want to focus on exactly the blue infrastructure. So this is zooming in that part of the figure, and here you can see it more clearly. So blue spaces in urban blue and green infrastructure have one of the among the largest mitigation benefits, but they also have very strong adaptation co-benefits. But clearly, they have among the highest level of linkages to sustainable development goals. Here you see that 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals have been linked to improved blue spaces in cities. So that's clearly very important. So let me now get into really what are, we say that physical and mental health is improving if you have a better blue and green infrastructure. But this is not just lip service or just narrative or nice words. It's really staggering how, when you look at the actual numbers. So for example, look at this study, and I just want to highlight two studies because both of them are quite impressive. So if you increase the so-called NDVI, which means normalized difference vegetation index, which is both in the wetlands but also around wetlands, clearly around lakes you have some parks. So meaning just a 10% increase in blue-green infrastructure within 500 meters of residence decreases all-cause mortality by 4%. So this is not even anything you're doing with a lot of investment for health improvement. Simply, you're making your city more livable, just utilizing the blue infrastructure that has been given to you. This study is also very impressive, and don't worry that it looks very complex on the slide. I just want to focus on the key messages. I just include all these complex figures so to show that it's not lip service, but we are really talking about a study of tens of thousands of people. This is a Chinese study following 14 years and covering almost the entire China. So this is very important. And what we see is that there is a 27% decrease in mortality if there is improvement in greenness within 250 meters of the residence. And this corresponds to a 4.5 reduction in the age of mortality, so age of death, which is really quite appalling, because we are talking about the elderly. This is a study of elderly people because we have an aging populations, especially in cities we have aging populations. The average lifetime, the start of the city was 93 years, and even then the proximity of a park or a lake meant within 250 meters of residence meant 20% decrease. And often we can't even explain actually the direct relationship why this happens, because some of these people cannot even necessarily go out anymore from their residences, and still we see this impact. So this is very substantial. So what we see from the scientific literature, that the benefits of blue-green infrastructure include improved air quality, as I mentioned, reduction in heat waves, and significant reduction in hottest temperatures, reduction in noise pollution, positive impacts on physiology, immunoregulatory impacts, reduction of light pollution, biogenic amine emissions. This is one of the biochemical pathways, how we think that blue-green infrastructure has a life-protecting impact, even if you don't manage to get out and it's not through actually physical contact with the blue-green infrastructure. But if you are able to get out, clearly people are more physically active if there is nice nature and biodiversity around them. So this is another point. You don't only need a wetland, but you need a biodiverse wetland. And finally, community benefits. And again, I think Tata is really vividly demonstrating that impact. So I think that's perhaps the most important impact. Yes, climate is very important, biodiversity is very important, but we do all of this for our well-being, for livable cities, for healthy people, for happy people. And that's exactly what everything in the scientific literature shows about improved blue-green infrastructure in cities. So I really want to thank you for this really critical event. And I want to thank very much Tata, the city of Tata, for asking me, and the trust of Tata for asking me to welcome your event. And also I wish a very successful event, and and hope that all of you will be as committed to improved biological diversity, improved wetland quality, and wetland coverage as much as possible in your cities as possible. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you further productive meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Uge Vosatz, for your valuable time and presentation. So for those who raise hands, please leave your comment in the chat box so that we can discuss during the Q&A session in the end. For our next presenter, we'll invite Mr. Andras Schmidt for his presentation on the implementation of the Ramsar Convention in Hungary, contributing to the adaptation to climate change. Mr. Schmidt is a Ramsar National Focal Point of Hungary and also a member of the Independent Advisory Committee for the Wetland City Accreditation. So we will welcome Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, and good day, everyone. While you're sharing, I would just like to say thank you to the city of Tata, the wetland accredited city of Tata, and also the Ramsar Regional Center East Asia for providing the opportunity for me to speak about nature conservation in Hungary, also the implementation of the Ramsar Convention in Hungary, and also what it has to do with the adaptation to climate change.
So I will share. May I share now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Do you see?
Not yet. Yes, it's beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So next slide, please. So I would like to briefly put Hungary in position for those who may not be familiar with this small country. It is in Central Europe, and from a biogeographic point of view, Hungary is responsible for most of the Pannonic biogeographic region. It is surrounded by high mountains, the Carpathians and the Alps. It lies in the Carpathian Basin, which is an important consequence that it collects all the waters running down from these mountains. So it used to be a country of waters, as you can see on this this illustration on the bottom left. In flooding seasons, a large part of the Carpathian Basin was flooded. This is no longer the case, unfortunately. So next slide, please. Mainly because of the land use and also because of climate change, the climate is visibly changing in Hungary within a human lifetime. You can see here the climatic zones from 1930 to 1960 and the next 30-year period, and also the last picture on the bottom right shows a more recent situation. The dry and warm red climatic zone is spreading extremely fast into Hungary. So now it mostly dominates Hungary, especially the Great Plain area, whereas it used to be a moderate dry climate. Thank you. Next slide, please. So this was only the biogeographic and natural background of the country, and I'd like to say a few words about the Ramsar Convention and its implementation in Hungary. Hungary acceded in 1979 to the convention. We have 29 sites, and that they cover a total of almost 3% of the country. We have one accredited wetland city, and this is Tata. Now, the Ramsar Convention has long dealt with the connection of wetlands, wetland protection, and climate change. It focuses on the maintenance or improvement of the ecological character of wetlands, including their ecosystem services, and it focuses mainly on nature-based climate change adaptation. The Professor Ürge Forzetz also spoke about the importance of different ecosystems as carbon sinks. On the right, you can see an illustration of how important the different ecosystems are as carbon storages. The wetlands you can see, especially in the soil, in the ground, they store a huge amount of carbon. So they are even more important in this respect than forests. Normally the perception is that forests are the most important, but wetlands play a huge role in this respect. Thank you. Next slide, please. So about nature conservation in Hungary in general, you can see the Ramsar sites in dashed green on the territory of Hungary. In the northwest lies Tata, and you can see the different color shades. They represent the jurisdiction of the 10 national park directorates, which together cover the whole territory of the country. Next slide, please. The state nature conservation, I'm going to speak about state nature conservation first and then about the city of Tata. So state nature conservation has for decades focused on wetland restoration projects. With our accession to the European Union, we have also EU-funded projects. In the present funding EU budgetary period, there are 60 projects of more than 100 million euros in total, and some of them also target wetlands to restore and to manage these wetlands. Thank you. Next slide, please. Of course, the projects take place normally and mostly in state-owned and national park managed areas, but it's only a small portion of the country. And of course, we have to collaborate with landowners and farmers. So we can do that through the EU subsidies for agri-environmental measures, and these are mainly carried out in different zones in the country. In the next slide, we can see a map that shows the zones, and these zones focus on different schemes, agri-environmental schemes, targeting specific birds, for example, or the specific habitat that exists in the area. So they are locally adapted agri-environmental schemes. Some of them focus on wetlands or wetland birds. Thank you. Next slide, please. And of course, the cooperation with farmers also has a, let's say, byproduct of different local products, which can be marketed with the help of national parks. We have a national park product brand, and this is very popular, and it also helps farmers because they can sell their products at a higher price, and their products are produced in an environmentally and climate-friendly way. Next slide, please. Just very briefly, I would like to show you some examples and the most important measures that in the EU-funded projects the National Park Directorates carry out, especially water supply of different wetland habitats and the restoration of the natural hydromorphology, the removal of invasive species, habitat improvement for wetland species, and so on. Next slide, please. One particular example is in the northwest of Hungary, on the Austrian border, the restoration and enhancement of natural habitats in the Honshag. This project has already been accomplished, and it restored a marshland with water supply. The target area was nearly 9,000 hectares, and there were, of course, specific species, wetland species, that benefited from this project. What you can see on the bottom left, you can see a large marshland filled with water as a result of this project. But it is worth looking at also the context of this marshland. It's not only the biodiverse habitat, which is important for wildlife, but also in the surrounding farmlands benefit from this wetland, because in droughts they receive underground water supply from such marshlands. So it is also beneficial for agriculture if people maintain wet areas nearby. Next slide, please. This is only about some details of the previously explained project. You can see some of the target species here. So let's go. And there will be a continuation of this project focusing on amphibians. Next slide, please. Another project is in the Danube River. It took place a few years ago, and the target area was smaller, but it focused on riparian forests, restoring the riparian natural forest, native forest type from the hybrid poplar plantations that were established there and after the Bősnagymaros Dam was established. Next slide, please. This is an explanation of how this project looked like. Sometimes you can see huge concrete blocks as part of these water retention works. This is part of how they can be implemented, but these sluices or dams are sometimes necessary to retain water and to create wild habitats. Next slide, please. I have been talking about large wetland restoration projects, but there are sometimes very small ones which are also very, very helpful for nature, creating ponds or saving small streams in mountain areas or bogs, which are important for different species. Next slide, please. An interesting example from the southeast of Hungary, where they use the water of fish ponds. When the fish ponds are drained, normally in late autumn, the water is used for flooding a marsh. And now, this is very important that the water quality has to be suitable for such activity. You cannot release any water like from any kind of fish pond into marshlands without destroying them. But here they regularly check the water quality to make sure that it really helps biodiversity. I can see a question here. I'm sorry, I cannot follow the chat while presenting, but afterwards I will come back to the questions. For example, here there's the night heron that is, and other heron types are target species of these wetland restoration projects. Next slide, please. So now turning to the cities, because so far I have been talking about the state nature conservation, but also municipalities play a role. Urban wetlands, as we heard from the professor Ulge Forsatz, they also play a critical role in disaster risk management and climate resilience. And cooling surrounding areas. I would like to show you a couple of examples from the next slide, please. Not from scientific studies, but from a simple journal that made an investigation in a particularly hot season, how much an urban park can help. Next slide, please. If you see here a bench in an urban park, the bench is exposed to the sun and the temperature is extremely high. And already on the grass surface, which is still exposed to the sun, the temperature is about 20 degrees lower, and in the shade it's bearable, 25 degrees. Next slide, please. And also the wetlands, even an artificial river, an artificially regulated river, merely the sheer amount of water in the city center can help reduce the heat stress. Next slide, please. Now, this is from a scientific study on how much the surface cover, the proportion of natural surface cover and sealed surface matters as for evaporation and runoff and infiltration. From left to right, and from on the bottom line again, left to right, you can see increasing amounts of sealed surface in a city or in an area. And that means a reduced amount, constantly reducing amount of evapotranspiration, while an increasing amount of runoff, which leads to flood risk, of course. And parallel with this, with the increasing amount of runoff from rainfall, the infiltration is reduced, especially deep infiltration is smaller and smaller as the surface the sealed surface is almost complete, almost 100%. Then deep infiltration, which would be helpful to maintain, to retain waters, is reduced drastically. Next slide, please. And now let's talk about the accredited wetland city of Hungary, Tata. It is important to note that the accreditation, although it took place in 2018, it was preceded by decades of work, nature conservation work with the local society. So here in this city in particular, the local society supports nature conservation and the wetlands and the species, especially the geese, connected to the wetlands. So there's a strong social basis for this activity. You can see where Tata is located on the next slide. Yes, next slide, please. You can see some examples how the municipality worked on the restoration of wetlands, for example, the wetland shorelines, here in this case in the old lake, to make them more natural and thereby retaining more water and also helping to adapt to climate change, climate extremes. Here you can see two different sections of the old lake shoreline, where the shoreline was made more natural from artificial, turned into grassland, or a more diverse wetland on the right side. And there are further plans to carry out such activities. Next slide, please. And there is another wetland in the northern part of the city which needed to be re-wetted. This was carried out as a part of a project in 2017. Because it was too dry, the area received water supply, and also some infrastructure for tourism was established here. Next slide, please. And after the city of Tata, we can zoom out from the city of Tata and look at a wider perspective of the EU and look into the future in the EU, because there in 2024 a new regulation was passed on nature restoration, and it has very strong provisions for the restoration of natural habitats and species, and also to take into account climate adaptation during these activities. It identifies that the EU significant habitat types, including a number of wetland habitats, have to be restored, created to reach the favorable conservation status of these habitat types, and the degradation is not allowed of these habitat types. Another important article of the regulation says that within the EU at least 25,000 kilometers of free-flowing rivers have to be created, so the member states work towards this common objective. For urban areas, the restoration identifies that by 2030 the national area of urban green space and urban tree canopy cover has to remain as compared to 2024, and from 2031 an increasing trend has to be reached. So these are hopefully this regulation will hopefully be implemented in the whole of the EU, and this will help to adapt to climate change that we experience now. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a good conference for today, and also good collaboration together to work to adapt to climate change globally. I must say that unfortunately I will need to leave soon to another online meeting, but I understand there may be some questions, so I will look at the chat now. I can see one question: which species are considered wetland invasive alien species in Hungary? Yes, there is, first of all, an EU regulation on invasive alien species, and it identifies at the moment around 70 or 80 species. There is a list of species, some of which occur in Hungary. For example, an important species, Amorpha fruticosa, which is an alien species, and it spreads rapidly and blocks river flows. So it is harmful not only to biodiversity, but also to, for example, flood prevention. But there are also other tree species that can be observed along rivers, such as Acer negundo and Juglans nigra. There are quite some problematic wetland species. Also animals I can mention, Ondatra zubatica from the muskrat from North America. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. I don't know if there are any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt, to introduce Hungarian and EU perspective of wetland restoration, which can contribute to the climate change. Thank you for your time today. And for our next presenter, we will invite 3 wetland cities, Donging, China, Vajanel, and Babol from Iran, to better understand how each wetland cities are adapting to the climate changes. For our first presentation, Donging City, as the previous chair of the network, is a pioneer wetland city well known for its integrated management of urban water system. Please welcome Dr. Sun Yan, the Senior Engineer of Donging Municipal Natural Resources and Planning Bureau of Donging City.
Thank you, Gong. Please wait a moment. I will share the screen. Okay, is that okay? Okay, let's start. Distinguished representative of Wetland cities, good day to all. It's my great honor to share Dongying's practical keys on responding to global climate change at this webinar. And my presentation will be divided into 4 parts. First, I'll give a brief overview of climate change and the challenges it has brought to Dongying. Next, I'll elaborate on the measures we've taken and some results we've achieved. Finally, I'll wrap up the keys and share some personal opinion on climate change, hoping to offer valuable inspiration for all of you. And as we all know, the concept of climate change first emerged around 1824, more than 200 years ago. In 1979, climate change was formally put on the international agenda. Then, in 1988, the United Nations set up the IPCC, elevating climate change to a co-global public issue. The key manifestations of climate change include rising global average temperatures, unbalanced temporal and spatial distribution of precipitation, frequent extreme weather events, and continuously sea level rise. Driven by climate change, cities worldwide are confronted with compound climate-related risks. A densely populated and economically concentrated hubs, cities are highly vulnerable to climate disasters. Urban waterlogging, heat waves, storm surges, and other hazards have become a major bottlenecks, restricting sustainable urban development. Located at the estuary of Yellow River, Dongying is a typical coastal plain city, highly sensitive to extreme weather caused by climate change. Super Typhoon Likma in 2019 was a landmark event of climate change impacting Dongying. Affected by extreme rainfall and tidal backwater from the sea, large-scale urban waterlogging hit Dongying's downtown area. More than 100 residential communities were flooded. Multiple roads were cut off, and urban operations as well as people's daily life were severely disrupted. The root causes of urban waterlogging in Dongying lies in 3 aspects. First, the downtown areas stretch east to west with flat terrain and a gentle gradient. Second, urban drainage channels were relatively limited in size and number. Third, seawater backflow aggravates flooding during typhoon rainfall. Faced with the waterlogging challenge posed by climate change, Dongying has adopted an overall strategies of upstream storage, midstream diversion, downstream drainage, and decentralized flood retention, with wetlands as the core carrier. We have taken concrete action in 5 key areas: providing legal safeguards, making top level planning, launching water system connection projects, constructing flood storage and detention wetlands, and restoring urban wetlands. We promulgated the Dongyin Wetland City Construction Regulation, writing the requirement of building a waterlogging-free city into local legislation. It mandates the municipal and district governments to improve the rainwater and flood storage capacity, as well as flood discharge and drainage capacity of urban river and lake water systems. We also issued the Dongyin Wetland City Construction Plan. It clearly set the goal of building a waterlogging-free city with interconnected rivers and wetlands in the central urban area, requiring the blue-green space ratio to reach no less than 70% and the wetland ratio no less than 50%. We have renovated 79 waterlogged spots across the city and connected 16 water systems in the urban areas and upgraded 57 pumping stations and wells. And this is a Swan Lake Flood Storage and Detention Project, located in the southeast part of the downtown area, covers about 32 square kilometers, equivalent to more than 4,000 stand football fields, with a total flood storage capacity of 40 million cubic meters. Now fully completed, the project has not only greatly enhanced the city's flood resistance capacity, but also evolved into a stunning urban wetland landscape. In addition, we have carried out wetland restoration in key city areas. We have recently restored over 500 hectares of urban wetlands, added to a total of 800 hectares of ecological wetland in the city. And thanks to all these efforts, we have achieved fruit results. Just like Professor Dana said, it's multiple co-benefits. Yes, multiple co-benefits for our city. First, the urban flood control standard of the downtown area has been upgraded from once in less than 10 years to a 50 years return period. And second, through wetland-based rainwater and flood storage, flood water in flood seasons is recycled as ecological water. We annually add tens of millions of cubic meters of reused rainwater, effectively meeting the ecological water demand of urban wetlands. Third, the urban heat island effect has been notably mitigated. Air quality improved, and the overall ecological environment optimized. Fourth, the last one I think is the most important one. People's well-being has been greatly enhanced. We have built 243 urban parks across the city, enabling residents to see greenery right outside the window and enter a park within walking distance. The per capita park green space area reaches about 27 square meters, and the urban green coverage rates stand around 44%, providing residents with green space for leisure, recreation, and fitness. Dongying's practical proved that wetlands are not only vital ecological resources, but also natural barriers against the global climate change, as well as essential carriers for harmonious coexistence between humanity and nature. As stated in the sixth assessment report of the IPCC, human activities have caused a global surface temperature rise of 0.8 centigrade to 1.3 centigrade over the past 200 years, making human factors the primary driver of climate change. And the IPCC has outlined 5 shared socio-economic pathways for humanity. SSP1, sustainable green development, the most ideal pathway. SSP2, mid of the road, business as usual development. SSP3, regional rivalry. SSP4, inequality. SSP4, fossil fuel development, the worst case pathway. Currently, we are following the SSP2 pathway. Though the worst case SSP5 have been avoided, we are yet to embrace the optimized SSP1 green development model. As once a resource-dependent city relying on petroleum exploitation, Dongying is steadily transforming itself into a green and sustainable wetland city. We have established an ecological protection pattern of 1 park and 2 belts, conducting comprehensive and systematic wetland protection and launching a host of wetland restoration projects to boost the carbon sequestration capacity. Meanwhile, we are vigorously developing new energy industry. By the end of 2025, Dongying's installed capacity of renewable energy reached about 10 million kilowatts, including offshore wind power and photovoltaic power. And most encouragingly, a growing number of cities are waking up to the urgency of climate change, attaching greater importance to wetland conservation and urban sustainable development. We are very happy to see our network of wetland cities keeps expanding. And to conclude, let us join hands and move forward together toward a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sun Yan. Thanks for Dongying City always showing the environmental leadership among the wetland cities. And quickly, may I invite one question from Serbia? Lovisad?
I didn't see the question.
Mirjana raised her her hand and I allowed her to talk. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Miss Libuse.
I thank you very much for a very nice presentation, and I also would like to congratulate municipality of Dongyin for that you reach such wonderful successes, and congratulations for your way how to protect wetlands and integrated them into climate change mitigation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Libuse, for your comment for Donging. We have one question from Amy, but if possible, can we discuss this during the Q&A session in the end? I hope Jora could answer this during the Q&A session in the end. And we will go to the next presenter, Dr. Hamed Akgar from Fazane, Iran. I will share my screen.
Hello.
Hello. You may begin your speech. So Barzaneh City.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I will introduce Barzaneh City before end. Barzaneh City, located in Isfahan province of Iran, was accredited as a wetland city at COP14 for its effort in the conservation of Kahuni Ramsar site. Please welcome Dr. Hamed Akgar, Mayor of Barzaneh City.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Hello.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. More effective item in my city as a Barzaneh in Iran. Today, I would like to speak about the climate change and also shrinking supply of essential resources about the Gulf Khuni in close the Barzaneh as a main wetland in a central plateau of the Iran. So this is really more important for us because for more than 10 years we have faced with these issues, and nowadays we could see in every element about the climate change in my city as a Varzane, because the geographical position of Varzane make it extremely vulnerable to environment change, because Varzane is in a downstream of the Zayanderud River, so it's really could change everything, unlike when upstream receive water first. So in downstream, we have a problem about the water. At first, I would like to speak about my city, Varzane, and some risk about my city. The city of Varzane, located in the center of the Iran's plateau, and we have faced with a lot of issues like water security risk, economic risk, and also environmental risk. The main thing is environmental change occurring throughout the entire the Zayanderud basin. It's really extremely for us as a Varzane at the end of the Zayanderud River. Next slide, please. Varzane is a historic town located in Isfahan, and it's really unique location, make Varzane a transition zone between fertile agriculture, land use, and also desert. So we have a little natural attraction in Varzane, like a Gulf Huni, Sand Hill, and also the Zayanderud River that make a natural attraction for my city, and also unique for this topic. The interconnected of water, desert, and also some type of the jungle in dry climate make this place it's really unique. However, nowadays the main potential of the Varzane. Next slide, please. It's about the tourism. In recent years, Varzane has become a main tourist destination. Visitors are attracted by desert landscape, culture, and also historical architecture and monument from this city. Tourism is not only a cultural opportunity, but it's a main item nowadays for economic to increase about the people connection with together. And also in this case we could speak about some topic about our environment and also our topic. Next, please. In this case, I'd like to speak about the Gulf Huni and also important of the Gulf Huni as a wetland close my city. The Gulf Huni wetland is one of the most valuable ecological resource in Isfahan province in the center of Iran plateau. In contribute to biodiversity conservation, ecotourism, agriculture, flood control, and natural water filtration. It's really great for us that Gulf Huni have a lot of component for us, especially for our city in urban management. But something happened nowadays, like reduce river inflow or excessive water consumption, or unfortunately industrial development in the west of our province, that all of them make a big problem and have faced a big problem about this wetland. And nowadays we could see that this wetland changed their rules in some part. Next, please. In this slide, we have a little picture from the Gulf Huni wetland in the top, and you could see the Black Mountain. The name of this picture, it's the eyes of a wetland. And next, it's about the combination of the sand, flamingos as a main migratory birds in my wetland, and also water. And in the bottom, you could see some handcraft of our people. People who lives in Verzan, especially women, use white hijab or chador. It's the main item of the climate change, the climate. You could see this adaptation between people, our human being life, and also with the environments. And it's really more important for us to make or increase this element of our cities to make a brand of my cities. Next, please. Next, please. And also in this one, you could see a camel riding for tourism, and also astronomy for a night. It's real more items for people who wants to visit the nation. But all of the item here, it's referred to environment, and it's real nice. However, the climate change, it's a main item that I would like to speak more about that, and the effects of this climate change in my city. Climate change is intensified this problem. In dry and semi-dry regions such as Verzan, a rising temperature increase the evaporation while water inflow decrease. It's a main item, water inflow decrease. As a wetland, dry soil become exposed and vulnerable erosion. We know that climate change acts as a multiplier. Many environment pressure already exists due to human water use, and climate change amplify this pressure by reducing available water and increasing demand. This means that future planning cannot focus solely on water management. It must also incorporate about climate adaptation. Please. Next, please. I would like to speak about this graph or diagram about the climate changing number or amount of temperature and some other. The data analyzes and trend for more than 2 decades show that The average annual temperature increased from approximately 14 degrees Celsius in 1960 to nearly 16.7 Celsius in 2020. So at the same time, evaporation increased, crop water demand increased, groundwater stress intensified. So river flow in Zayanda Road declined dramatically. It's a main item from around 2,500 million cubic meters per year to approximately 1 million cubic meter per year. So it's really dramatically decreased of the water supply for the main supply of the Gulf Huni wetland. So it's so bad for this wetland. This item, it's really clearly between 2009 and 2023, the Gulf Huni system experienced a dramatic transition. The slide show the environmental transformation of a region that happened, especially when we comprise this slide with the before one, the reduce of the Zayandrud River to the wetland. And also this make it critical for this region. As I told in the first one, when Gulf Huni and also Varzane is in a downstream. So when we have a problem from the upstream, this problem with enormous shape that happen from the end. Next, please.
May you can.
Yes. However, in this slide, we speak about what we should do as an urban management, as a municipality. After COP14 and also before that, people who lives in Varzane thinking about, okay, how we could do or how we should do about this wetland. First of all, that we work a lot during this time. It's about the awareness for indigenous and also put people who lives in Varzane and change a lot of items that people think before about the wetland. Especially modern irrigation system and water efficient crops that help us for reduce urban water losses. That's really main item because we speak about that. The main item is about the reduce of the flooding and flow from the Zayandrud River. And also ecotourism development is another main item or alternative to improve the economic of this region and also decrease the effect of wetland, especially from the agriculture, to help about this item. So municipality focus about the water supply in another way, so improve water efficiency and also support the local economy in a different alternative. Next, please. I told that before, especially in Tata, that we should and we could speak about the new paradigm in urban management after cities awarded and also candidate as a wetland cities. The new strategies of municipality has affected from the wetland and also environment. So as I for urban management to combine about the three elements of the urban management, sustainable urban development, and also wetland cities. So we could combine these elements with together to make new strategies about the wetland. However, we could expand a theory or new theory about the urban management. In next one, I would like to speak about the rule and as action plan. Next, please. About the action plan to restore water and protect Gulf County wetland in three levels, as a national level, regional level, and also local level, because it's really important for us to optimistic our scenario about the sustainable policies. So in this scenario and also next one, I would like to speak both with together. We try to make a decision about the uncertainty about some item, especially for our wetland and also our environment. Wetland condition should be improved as a main policies, and also water efficiency increase. Some part it's about the national rule and regional rule. Tourism expanding and also economic resilience grows up because economy, and also this economy is real clear and healthy for our environment. We should do that about agriculture loses increase, and also after that we could see dust storm become more decrease like nowadays, and also population migration and also migratory birds as our concern will be increased during this time. Next, please. As a conclusion, because maybe they have a problem about the screen or my slideshow, but I would like about the conclusion about the last. Next, please, about the last one. The evidence clearly show that climate change and unsustainable water management have significantly reduced water in Zayan-Derud Basin and also Gulf County wetland between 2009 till 2020 that we comprise this year with together. Rising temperature, decline precipitation, and reduced river flow have accelerated environment degradation and place increased pressure on agriculture of the Varzane. We really must implement sustainable water policies as a national and regional level, improve irrigation efficiency as a regional and local level, restore wetland ecosystem, reduce grants at a local level that we have planned in municipality about that to achieve about this item. Thank you so much for attention, and so sorry about maybe have a problem about the network signal. And thank you to Mayor of the Tata for say about opening and all presenter. And my special thanks to Mr. Su and his team that really support Wetland City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Ahmed. We feel really sorry that happened. The programs crashed in the online, the Zoom account, Zoom program, and the other interpretation programs. So sorry for this. So from now on, Gaon, please take over and share the screen for the next presenter.
Yes, Mayor Ahmed, please give attention to the one question in the chat box. So thank you, Dr. Akkar, for your insightful presentation. Finally, we would like to invite Dr. Oziar Abezi from Babol City, Iran. He is an associate professor at Babol Noshivarni University of Technology. As a newly accredited wetland city in 2025 at COP15, Dr. Abezi will update the work of Babol City and the wetlands. Please welcome Dr. Ozier Abezi from Babol.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my great pleasure to be here. So it's our first time presenting our city. So it's great to have my presentation file sharing for everybody. Thank you. So as you mentioned, Babol is accredited, actually has been accredited in 2020 as a World Wetland City. So in the flyer that you see in my own language, which is Persian, basically say that Babol is the land of dreams. So the city used to have wetlands since 1,000 years ago. So these wetlands used to be a part of city nature, part of the culture here. So the city used to call the land of water and birds. In my language, it used to call Mamatir, or in Arabic language. So the city used to live with wetland for thousands of years, and recently we have several wetlands still living inside the city area. So for the next slide, I'm trying to introduce the city a little bit and what we have done recently about the topic of this webinar. Please, next slide. So I'm talking from the Mazandaran province in north of Iran, southern Caspian Sea, in the same state that hosted Wetland Convention 55 years ago. Ramsar, which is a city in the same state that I'm living, just next to my city, actually hosted the first convention, environmental convention, 55 years ago. So it's great to celebrate it, and it's great to, from here, invite everybody to visit Ramsar city. Just go online and Google Ramsar to see the beauty of these cities and the beauty of my region, Mazandaran province. By the way, my city is accredited like just last year in 2025, and we had a little time to actually make this presentation and talk a little bit about what I've done during this little time in my own city. So I'm trying to introduce the city. The city has the population of, the county has the population of about 550,000 people. So we have very good universities, very good infrastructure, good hospital. I would say it's a big city, by the way. It just in the size and in the matter of infrastructure. For the next slide, if you go next, I'm trying to actually show the location of my city. If you go to Middle East, there is a brilliant country starring Iran, and in north of Iran, you will see Mazandaran province. Ramsar is at the far east of this province. My city bubble is at the center of the province, and we used to have several wetlands. If you go to the next slide, I'm trying to show you some old figure, so old picture from the convention itself. I took this figure with my own cell phone. If you go to Ramsar, there's a very old hotel. So it's the same place that we had convention 55 years ago. Since my childhood, I used to go there and enjoy the beauty of Ramsar, and also I get to know this convention since when I was just like 10-year-old guy. So, by the way, if you go to the next slide, uh, we still have this hotel working there, and we still have these figures, these pictures installed everywhere in the hotel, that they are proud of having this convention since that time. And they have a very small wetland as a demo there. By the way, so next slide, please. Yeah, when I'm talking about the wetland in my area, I'm talking about two type of wetlands. One is natural, the other one is human-made. In Persian language, we call it abandon, and it's already documented in the in the convention, in the manuals, that abandon is a very special human-made wetland that made essentially to use as a water resource to irrigate like rice farms and other like agriculture activities in the region. So part of the wetland we have in the region is human made. So it helps a lot during the last centuries, I would say, to support our farming, rice farming in the region. At the same time, it was a natural ecosystem. It's supported by diversity. It helps for fishing, bird watching, bird catching in the old time, and many other things. For the next slide, if you go next, I'm trying to show you some good pictures about the region. Next one, please. So these wetlands, as I mentioned, are categorized in human-made wetlands based off the convention way of categorizing wetlands. If you go to the next slide, I'm trying to talk a little about the history, but because we don't have much time. Since COP13 2018, we get to know that we have this great idea of wetland city. So we work, I would say, for 8-10 years to have a committee for managing our wetlands. And if you go to next slide, in COP14, we understood that already two cities of Iran got accredited in the convention, and we concentrate more to provide document and actually do some more scientific research on our wetland, get to know the water quality, everything, and we provide our forms, our documentation to submit it to the convention in 2024, and in 2025 we got accepted, accredited as a wetland city. But the very interesting thing about my city is that we don't have Ramsar site. We only have some natural and human-made wetland in the city, and it's a natural beauty and a heritage in the region. So it comes from our ancestor. It goes back to some 100 years ago. So we try to keep them all during all these centuries, and we still have some inside the city. If you go to the next slide, in 2026, we officially accepted as a wetland accredited city. And if you go to the next slide, so we need to update this figure. So my region, as you see, is a very green, special region between the Alborz Mountain and Caspian Sea. So this region has one of the oldest forests of the world. It's already a UNESCO heritage site. So Hirkani Forest, which already approved by UNESCO as a heritage site, is in the south, and in north we have the biggest lake of the world. which is Caspian Sea. So everybody knows about the Caspian Sea. It's called a single, or in some cases they call it the smallest ocean of the world. It's big enough to consider as a biome, or as a ocean-like biome. So during the last few years, we had a lot of problem about the changes in water level in Caspian Sea. Global warming impacting us a lot. Hirkani forest is actually got impacted because of the global warming in a bad way. We are losing some part of our ecosystem. In the other side, we are having a Caspian Sea that going down, basically because of the high evaporation, because of the constructions that have done in the northern part of the Caspian Sea, in Russian part. We are losing a lot of the Caspian Sea water. So the Caspian Sea water level is decreasing badly. During the last 20 years, I would say about 2 meters decrease in water level. So I would say this region is under pressure from both sides, from the Hirkani forest, which is actually impacting a lot because of the global warming and land use changes, and from the Caspian side, which is going down. And in these two things is changing the region. By the way, my city and these wetlands that I'm going to talk is located in such a sensitive area. If you go to the next slide. So I'm trying to show some beauties of the region. These wetlands are some located just next to the city or inside the city. So you will see the beauties, all those all those plants. I'm not easy to talk about the type of these uh, uh, plants, because I really don't know the English name of those beautiful flower you see on the right side. But the way, if you come to region, it's great. It's paradise for who loves photographing and taking a photo of nature. If you go to the next slide, I'm trying to show you some more slides of the region. So it's the wetland that I'm going to talk more about it. It's Nilufar wetland, located inside the city area. Actually, if you look at the far distance, you will see apartment building. So we have apartment building located just next to the wetland, and they live in peace. The good side of this wetland is inside the city, and they actually uh, uh, protect it for centuries. They didn't destroy it. It always had a problem of pollution, but we are trying to solve the problem. And we have apartment building just next to the wetland. If you go to the next slide, so you see several wetlands around the city and inside the city. There's a network of rivers, handmade, even canals to feed these wetlands. So basically, by city work like a spine city. If you have like high rainfall, these wetlands gonna help us to store some part of these runoff, and to decrease the bad impact, the inverse impact of rainfall, or I would say urban flooding. So uh, next slide, please. So since that time, wetlands used to be a part of cities actually ecosystem and cities infrastructure to help us against uh, uh, flooding, urban flooding, and the other part. So next slide, please. So I'm trying to talk a little bit about the topic of the webinar, which is basically the impact of global warming and what Wetland City can do about it. As you see in these wetlands, you used to have little trees, little plants. And what we have done, you're already familiar with this concept. We have black carbon, blue carbon, brown carbon, and green carbon. So forestation, having more plants always help to actually we store some green carbon in our ecosystem. So what we have done, we increase deforestation in our region. If you go to the next slide, you will see we plant a lot, and we increase the number of we have increased the number of trees in the region. What you see is the Secretariat of Wetland City. So we made this beautiful house in the wetland itself, and it works as our office. So we usually have our meeting in the wetland in the same building. By the way, if you look at the other figures in the next slide, you will see that we plant a lot of trees down there in the wetland. It's the first thing we have done about it, and we are trying to in some cases uh, manage the dredging of the wetland. You already know that we have a lot of carbon stored in the soil, and soil has a special role for storing carbon in our region. So we are trying to store or use soil as a system, as a source to absorb carbon. So we can do dredging in our wetland in some cases, but beside the blue carbon and green carbon, which are our trees that we already planted, we can already, and we are planning to store more carbon in the sediment, in the sediment of our wetlands. Historically, they use this sediment as a fertilizer in the region, and we still can help farming by sharing the 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 sediment of the wetlands as a source of fertilizer in the region. By the way, this region is full of the rice farm, gardens, and wetlands. Beside using as a source of water, used to use as a fertilizer by having the dredging methodology used as a fertilizer, and also as a source of protein, because in the old time they used to do the bird catching, they used to do the fishing in the region. There are huge wetlands, like 400 hectares. So in the local business, wetlands used to actually use as a source of protein, and same time as a source of materials for like handmade things. And we still can use for multi purposes, for storing carbon, forestation, store carbon sediment, at the same time use sediment as a fertilizer, and still use as a place for fishing, but for recreation, not clearly as a pond for fishing. But still, region is working. Yeah, we have little time left. Next slide. I guess last slide. So is the wetland right now, and it used as a place for people to go and hang out and enjoy. What you see, all those plants are planted recently. I would say they are like 5-6 year old trees, and we are planning to embed these wetlands in our urban planning and consider them as a source of actually, or as a place of recreation. At the same time, if you go around this wetland, you will see that the temperature around this wetland is much lower. It's clear. We have those problem of thermal island in the cities, and these wetlands in different locations of the city can naturally ventilate sort of the city and decrease those global warming impact. Thank you for having me. It was short presentation from Wobble, and it was great to meet everybody here. Thanks.
So thank you, Dr. Abezi, for your presentation. So for our next presenters, we would like to invite two partner organizations of the network. First, we would invite the member of scientific and technical review panel an independent advisory committee for the Wetland City accreditation of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands, for his briefing on the Global Wetland Outlook 2028 as a lead author. Please welcome Dr. Matthew Simpson.
Thank you very much, Gayon, and thank you to Tata City for hosting this and giving me the opportunity to present, and also thank you to the Ramsar Regional Centre East Asia. I'm presenting on the Ramsar Global Wetland Outlook in 2028, and this is being prepared by myself and Maria, and Maria is also on the Independent Advisory Committee for Wetland City Accreditation, and we are the coordinating leads for the next Global Wetland Outlook. So the Global Wetland Outlook, as I'm sure many of you will know, is the flagship publication of the Convention on Wetlands. And so far we've had 3 editions of it. It started in 2018, we had another one in 2021, and then obviously last year one was launched just ahead of the Ramsar COP in Zimbabwe. So just to give you an idea of how important and the global reach that this publication has, in the 2025 one had an editorial reach of 1.7 billion, and it was very successful in being picked up by more than 120 international and regional media outlets, and 250 online and print stories were produced as a result. It also had a lot of mention in media views, so over 480,000, and the social media campaign for the Global Wetland Outlook is, well, over 200 million accounts were accessed the information. So you can see it has a very large reach, and it really is the publication that reaches people and talks about wetlands. And we hope that it will have even bigger reach in 2028. So I'm really pleased to say that for 2028, it's going to be purely focused on wetlands and cities. And our working title at the moment is Wetlands for Healthy Cities. And this is kind of a new thing for the Ramsar Convention, in that it is a collaboration between the Scientific and Technical Review Panel of the convention that normally produces the Global and Wetland Outlook. But in this case, we are working with the Wetland City Accreditation Independent Advisory Group and the Wetland City Network, which are all part of. It's a real opportunity to share the success of the 74 Wetland City accredited cities, and to share the knowledge exchange and the capacity building of the Wetland City Network. So the objectives of the Global Wetland Outlook 2028 is really to promote wetland integration in urban planning, deepen community stewardship, mobilize cooperation and resources for wetland cities, support more cities to achieve Wetland City accreditation, and help cities contribute to global biodiversity, climate, and sustainable development goals, which you've heard are necessary from our previous excellent presentations this morning or this evening. And funding for the Global Wetland Outlook means funding a global business case for cities to protect wetlands as essential infrastructure for resilience, health, and long-term urban prosperity. And we're asking cities, administrations, and countries and private donors to help support us make this the biggest global wetland outlook there has been. And you can see from this budget that has been developed for the project that we're looking for funding to help us in the actual development of the Global Wetland Outlook, but also really importantly to support outreach events and launch events in many different parts of the world. So we're looking for just under 120,000 US dollars to help support us do this. So please, if you are interested in supporting the development of the Global Wetland Outlook for 2028 and making sure it is a huge success, then please contact the Ramsar Regional Centre East Asia, who will contact us, and then we can talk more. We've already had some very kind offers of support from a number of cities and contracting parties to the convention. But if you would be interested in supporting, then please do. If you do support, then your city logo will be on the report, and you will also have an opportunity to be promoted at the various events launching and promoting the Global Wetland Outlook. So I have a very brief presentation, but thank you again for the opportunity to present on the Global Wetland Outlook. And if you're interested in contributing technically, but also financially, then please get in contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson, for your short briefing on the Global Wetland Outlook. I hope the network pay enough attention to the publication of the flagship report. And next, we will invite Dr. Udo Gattenreiner from Global Nature Fund for their promotion of Ramsar site and the Wetland City concept in Germany. Please welcome Dr. Udo.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. My name is Udo Gattenreiner. I'm the director of Global Nature Fund. I hope and assume that you can see my screen and that you can hear me all right. I would like to thank the city of Tata and the RRC-EA for the invitation and for giving me the opportunity to share briefly our activities in relation to Ramsar and the Ramsar Wetland Cities campaign. I will try to be brief to catch up a little bit, so I will rush through the slides and give you later my contact details so that I can share the presentation with you, but it might be shared anyway by the organizers. We are a small foundation based in Germany, 30 people staff, 6 million euro turnover. We do primarily international cooperation, international development projects. Those projects are based in the Global South primarily. They focus on water. So that is kind of our legacy on water sanitary hygiene, for instance, or on what I would call nature-based solution. We call it constructed wetlands or green filters or filtros verdes. We do that primarily in Latin America. And of course, we work very often with fishermen communities and the fishermen families. And we do a couple of restoration projects in mangrove ecosystems, but also other forests. What is our connection to Ramsar? We are an NGO observer. So we're not one of the 6 IOPs, for those of you who are familiar with the abbreviations and acronyms, but we're an observer and we are the educational focal point. You might also know that acronym of CEPA. And we work in close collaboration with the German government in view on Ramsar-related activities in Germany. And the relation concretely at the time being is that we're running a project until August this year with a focus on Ramsar that is supported by the German government. So what we do, as I said, I'll try to be brief and rush a little bit, is we published a brochure on all 35 Ramsar sites in Germany. We have been doing an exhibition that is kind of touring through Germany, visiting a number of Ramsar sites and the visitor centers. And we currently prepare an event because we have the 50-year anniversary of the ratification of the Ramsar Convention here in Germany. And this I will elaborate a little bit more on. We work on Ramsar cities. This is the brochure. You can download it with that QR link when the presentation is shared. It's already published in German, but the English version is almost ready. That's the little exhibition that we've been doing. And the event that will take place 29th of June in Germany, Dr. Mumba will also attend, and the Secretary of State of the Ministry. As far as Ramsar wetland cities is concerned, unfortunately, none of the 74 already accredited cities worldwide is a German one. We want to change that. We have contacted 28 cities in Germany, so we do kind of a little, it's not a scientific study, but it's kind of a potential study for the German government in order to identify the cities that the German government, together, of course, with the mayors of the cities, will then nominate to Ramsar. You see that they are spread all over Germany. This is a map of Germany. And it's a broad spectrum of different areas, from very large moors and fens to large restoration projects, also man-made or anthropogene areas or wetlands, and many protected areas, nature protection sites, IBAs, that means important bird area, UNESCO. So you can dive a little bit deeper into that information when you can have a look at the presentation later. Of course, we would like to learn from those who have been accredited already and have already experiences and knowledge. So we have contacted a number of cities already accredited here in Europe. You can see from, of course, Tata in Hungary to Novi Sad in Serbia. And that is quite valuable and helpful to learn from each other and create a certain positive momentum, and of course not reinvent the wheel. What might be of interest to you is the feedback that we received from the 28 cities we have contacted in Germany in view on the benefits for the city. And very often the feedback was that most cities try to avoid additional work, but also additional investment. So the financial situation in many cities, also in Germany, is not ideal. So it's quite important to underline that there are really core benefits for the population. And it has been said earlier, in view on resilience or adaptation and mitigation to climate change, flood prevention, retention areas, all these aspects are really very important. And it was also important that it's not a legal obligation that is connected to this step of being nominated and hopefully ratified and accredited as a Ramsar wetland city. So I also keep that a little bit short. You know that process, so I can really rush through those slides. So of course we have been curiously waiting for the international call, which was launched in April by the Ramsar Secretariat. And we translate that in a short version into the German language. We have, as I said, already been speaking with many cities over the last month, even last year. So we will be identifying or selecting together with the government cities now by summer or July, and assist them in filling out the nomination form. And then that will be submitted to Ramsar. And, you know, that will be done, can only be done by the national focal point, in our case, the ministry. And then the evaluation committee, the independent advisory committee is the accurate title, will evaluate those submitted applications. We do not know yet whether it's one or more. And then we hope that there will be, of course, a formal recognition at the next COP at the Convention of the Parties in Panama in 2028. And you also know that it will be valid for 6 years. So as a summary, so we're really collecting a lot of information from the cities. We're doing a lot of dialogue with the cities. We try to identify the city that are willing, that is important, but also the most appropriate, I would say. And then also nominate for the first time a German city and prepare that at the COP. And the last comment and slide, and I think I really caught up a little bit of time, is that we really appreciate the work of the regional center of the RRC-EA in Asia. We think that this would be a good blueprint or a good example of how to organize also a kind of a network in Europe. So we would be very keen to contribute to such a network. And for that purpose, and I think that's the last slide, we have been contacting a number of potential partners or allies or multipliers, you might also call them, in view on working on such a Europe-related network. We know that there is already, of course, the roundtable of wetland city mayors. I think that is a very important forum. But in addition, I think it would be good to have something that is driven by civil society, probably. So we have been speaking with ICLAI, and we have already been in touch with MedWet, for instance, and some networks like the Kommunen für biologische Vielfalt. That's the German title because it's a national network, and of course other usual suspects in a positive sense. So we would be very optimistic, hopefully to launch. It depends on resources, of course, to launch or to kickstart such a European network by 2020, by the next COP, by 2028. So that would be our goal and our ambition. Of course, we can't do that alone. So we're looking then for partners, and that is an ongoing process. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you for your attention. That was fast, but I hope that you got all the information you need. And as I said, please feel free to get in touch with us. I will share my contact details in the chat, and then you can also have access to that slide later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Udo, Dr. Gerenter, for your presentation. We expect to see more German wetland cities in the future. And as our last presenter for today's webinar, the host of the 5th Roundtable of Wetland City Mayors will inform you about the event, which will be held from 30th November to 2nd December in Niigata City, Japan. Niigata City, are you ready to share the video, or do you wish me to share the video?
OK。はい、皆さん、こんばんは。こんにちは。またおはようございます。年1回行われている市長会議について、今年は日本の新潟市で開催します。私はこの会議を担当する課長の草間と申します。本日はこの会議を紹介する機会をいただきありがとうございます。また、先日行った参加の意向調査にご返事いただいた方、ありがとうございました。まずは、新潟のイメージをつかんでいただくため、2分間の動画をご覧ください。
Okay, I will share it myself. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wait a second. Yeah. Now we will invite Mr. Kusama, Director of the Environmental Policy Division in Niigata, Japan.
Excuse me, we have a kind of trouble sharing the file.
Okay, I will share the presentation.
Thank you. Next page, please.
では、私たちの町を簡単に紹介させてください。新潟市は2つの大きな川の河口にあり、古くから港町として栄えてきました。水田や湖など多くの水辺に恵まれ、人と自然が調和した都市です。日本一の米どころで酒どころとしても有名です。
Next, please.
新潟という地名は新しい方、ラグーンという意味です。名前の通り、市内には酒田、福島潟、富山潟、上関潟をはじめとする16の湖があります。これらの湖は昔から人々の生活に深く関わり、今も多くの市民に親しまれています。
Please.
新潟市は面積の 44% が水田を含む地域です。また、湖が凍結せず、積雪も多くないことから、水鳥が冬を過ごしやすい環境です。これらの環境により、世界有数の白鳥の越冬地となっていて、市内では至るところでその姿が見られます。
Please.
続いて、市長会議の概要です。期日は11月30日から12月2日の3日間です。初日は午後から開始します。最初の2日間は会議です。3日目はラムサージュ条約湿地の酒田や福島潟など、湿地でのガイドツアーを予定しています。
Please.
続いて、プログラムについて説明します。前回、タタで採用された市長会議の開催ガイドラインに沿って構成しています。テーマ別分科会では、各都市から事例発表をしていただきます。2都市間会議では、希望に応じてマッチングし、より深い意見交換や交流を深める機会を設ける予定です。また、今回新たにポスター発表コアタイムという機会を設ける予定です。例年の通り、会議会場では74の湿地都市や参加団体の紹介パネルを設けます。ここでよく学術会議で行われているように、特定の時間帯に参加者が集まり、それぞれの説明を行ったり、または聞いて回ったりして、交流を深める場とする予定です。ここには一般市民も来場する予定です。新潟の湿地に関連する特産品の販売も行います。皆さんもぜひ湿地に関係するノベルティやチラシなどのグッズを用意していただければと思います。
Next, please.
もう一つ提案する新しい試みが座談会、ディスカッションミーティングです。各都市による発表の場としては、これまで市長などの代表者によるものがありました。今回はさらに35歳以下のユースの参加者を対象とした座談会、および地域活動団体からの参加者を対象とした座談会を設ける予定です。
Please.
アクセスと宿泊について説明します。新潟へのアクセスは主に2つのルートがあります。1つは新潟空港を利用するルートです。ソウルインチョン空港は昨日から新潟空港に毎日運航することとなりました。東アジアのハブ空港なのでトランジットに便利です。もう一つは東京から日本に入るルートです。東京駅から新潟駅までは直通の新幹線で2時間で、少なくとも1時間に1本以上走っているので確実で便利です。宿泊については会議会場に隣接するホテル日光新潟を予約してあります。
Please.
会議中のプログラムでは、本日のウェビナーのように AI 同時通訳サービスを利用を予定しています。3日目の湿地のガイドツアーでは、英語の逐次通訳となります。 私たちも多言語ボランティアスタッフなどを配置しますが、各参加グループにも英語を話せる人がいた方が、よりスムーズなコミュニケーションを取れると思います。今後、プログラムの詳細を調整し、近日中に正式な参加申し込みを行います。先日の調査で参加と回答しなかった方でも申し込みができますので、改めて参加をぜひご検討ください。また、湿地都市認証や市長会議に関心がある都市や団体がありましたら、ぜひ皆様から誘ってください。今回は都市の代表者だけでなく、様々な立場の人の出番を設けているので、多くの参加者をお待ちしています。
Next, please. The next page includes a video. So can you start?
プロモーション動画をご覧
新潟から世界へ、国際湿地都市新潟。
してみませんか、片思い。
The last page, please.
はい。皆さんが新潟に訪れる頃は、越冬のため1万羽を超える白鳥が飛来しています。ぜひ見ていただきたいと思います。白鳥とともに皆様とお会いできる日を楽しみにしています。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Mr. Kusama, for your update on the Mayor's Roundtable. For those who are interested in participating in the Mayor's Roundtable, please contact either Niigata City or the Wetland City Network Secretariat by email in the chat box. And we have finished with our presenters today, and now we will open the floor to the participants for the Q&A session. If you have any questions for today's presentations or any feedback about this webinar, we can discuss now. I guess everyone has already discussed themselves through the chat box during the presentation. If we do not receive any questions, we would like to invite the Executive Director of the Ramsar Regional Center East Asia, Wetland City Network Secretariat, Mr. Seo Seung-ho, for his closing message. Please welcome Mr. Seo.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the great presentations, and then especially for the support from the city of Tata, and then also city of Niigata, two former and then current host for the Wetland City Network. Yes, as mentioned here, so we are planning to have the 5th Mayor's Roundtable in the city of Niigata in Japan. So we expect to have more and more cities to participate and then see each other and share their views and ideas together. And as a secretariat of the Wetland City Network, we are also trying to develop the benefits to share with the member cities. So we haven't discussed this openly yet, but we will bring one great idea to the meeting proper in the 5th Mayor's Roundtable. So please be interested, and then also we expect to have your active participation in this idea. So we want to contribute to the Wetland City's ecotourism, and then also we want to contribute the city's exposure to the audiences online and offline. So thank you very much sparing your time here, and then hope to see you in Niigata soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saw, for your closing message. Now we will end today's webinar on the adaptation to the challenges of climate change in wetland cities. Today's webinar will be uploaded on the RRC-EA YouTube channel. Thank you for your attention.